My sister, 32F, called CPS on my husband and I. Now that the case has been closed, I have no idea how to confront her. My sister and I have always been close. Every year, she spends Christmas Eve sleeping over with her fiancé, M31, and helps us get toys from Santa built and set up for Christmas morning. We call ourselves Santa's helpers and have a lot of fun with it. This year, she spent the night and saw my husband and father disciplining our son. M13, our son is now a teenager and likes to ignore us when we ask him to do something, pretend he doesn't know how to do something incredibly simple, slam doors. General teenager sassy behavior. His teachers at school notice it as well, so it's something we're working on at home. Our discipline style is somewhere between tough love and talk it out. Every time a conflict at home arises, my son does the argue/flip out, then run upstairs and slam the door thing. My husband will wait 10 minutes and go upstairs and have a heartfelt, meaningful dialogue with him. This happened on Christmas Eve. He told his 3-year-old sister Santa wasn't real, and we both immediately told him that wasn't okay, and he started arguing with us. It led to the same typical back and forth. The difference was my sister and her fiancé were present. Neither of them said anything and went about our usual Christmas Eve routine. Everything seemed fine. Our son apologized and went to bed. Upon his return to school after break, a CPS worker showed up and pulled him out of class to interview him about how his parents treat him. He told them he loved his parents and that things at home were fine. He expressed that when we discipline him, we sometimes ground him and we take away his electronics for a week, and sometimes he will argue with us, but he knows that when we discipline that we do it because we love him and want him to grow and learn. Now, a little detail about the month of December and its difficulties. I have a seizure disorder. I have not had a seizure in 10 years, and in the month of December, out of nowhere, I had 3 back-to-back. I was sitting at my neurologist's office preparing for an EEG sleep study when I get a call that goes to voicemail from that same CPS worker saying the next day she would be coming to our house to interview us and our 3-year-old. I immediately shared the number and voicemail to my husband and told him to call her back immediately because I couldn't. So the very next day, after an exhausting round of seizure tests, she came over. When she arrived the next day, we got a better picture of the accusations she made against us. 1. She claimed my husband was an alcoholic with anger issues. 2. She claimed we were starving our 3 children and had no food in the house. To answer the first accusation, it was Christmas Eve. All of our family was there, drinking eggnog or wine. And no one in the house got sloshed except my sister, who drank an entire 18-pack of beer to herself that night. We do not have a drinking problem. It was a holiday with family and a delicious meal I spent all day preparing. My husband does not have anger problems whatsoever. We were upset at what our son said to his sister, but not in any way that would justify saying anyone in this house has anger issues. My dad and my husband pulled our son aside to talk to him about it. I really don't understand this one. To answer accusation 2, as the CPS worker toured our house, we showed her our pantry, fridge, and freezer. She literally laughed out loud and said, "There's enough food here to feed everyone in this house for 3 months. We are absolutely not starving our kids at all," and that was obvious right away. When the CPS worker was packing up to leave, she stated, "I'm grateful to be handling a case in a functional home with happy, healthy kids. Usually it's quite the opposite." Today, she called us back and is closing the case by the end of today. She does not believe any further action is needed and our risk score is low. Upon talking to my parents and brother, all agree this was for sure my sister based on talking with her themselves, though she has not outright admitted it. All agree this was the last thing my family needed while dealing with my health issues and restructuring our lives and schedules around the reality that I can't drive for 6 months, so I can't work. My husband and I see this as a major betrayal. I'm still reeling from the reality that a family member I've always been so close with and trusted would make such an impulsive, dishonest, and quite frankly cruel decision like this. I've spent weeks trying to figure out how to confront her, as she has not fully admitted to doing this, but has heavily implied it to everyone who's spoken to her. She went from being overly communicative the day of this interview, demanding I call her and tell her how it went, and in general blowing up my phone, to being silent and not speaking to me for weeks after I told her it went fine. I believe she knows I assume she did this. I want to have a conversation with her, but I do not know how to do it. I feel betrayed by my sister and incredibly hurt. I do not want to react emotionally, but I do want her to know this was wrong. Quick, small update. My brother wants to coordinate lunch where we sit down with her to discuss this. He doesn't think me texting her is a good idea, so that may happen, but I don't even know if I can look her in the eye right now. I intend to bring up the drinking issues and concerns for her mental health during this conversation, but also try to get to the truth. We'll have one final update after this with more answers. Thank you, everyone. Final update. She ended up reaching out to me and telling me how much she loved me. I responded saying that I had a question to ask, and I needed her to be honest with me. She called me immediately. She opened with saying, "I think you already know the answer if you're asking this question, so yes, it was me." I followed up with, "Do you realize what could have happened to my kids? To me and my husband? Do you realize how bad the outcome of this could have been?" She began to rant and yell. She said me and my husband don't deserve to be parents, that I obviously don't care about my kids because I hadn't even brought them up, which I literally opened with, "Do you realize what could have happened to my kids?" Literally my first question. I think she was drunk again during this call. She just kept yelling and ranting, and I couldn't get a word in. I kept asking if I could speak, and she wouldn't stop going off. The only words out of my mouth she heard were, "You realize we are going to be taking a very long break from you, right?" And her response was, "I'm sure you will." And "I don't care," then resumed her ranting. So I calmly told her if she was not going to let me speak, I was going to hang up. At this point, her ranting was incoherent, something about how she cares more about my kids than anyone, obviously not if you think what you did was okay, and think that showing my kids you care about them means putting them at risk and ensuring that they are also losing a family member as a result of her actions, then sure, I guess that's caring. I once again calmly stated that I was going to hang up if she wouldn't let me speak. Unfortunately, that's where this phone call ended. I hung up and blocked her immediately, and then called our father. I told him the way she was behaving on the phone sounded like she was incredibly unstable and either drunk, having a manic episode, or both, and that he should call her just to try to calm her down and get through to her. It sounds like he was going to immediately, though I don't know. I am devastated and still reeling from this. I knew it was her, but I really wanted the slim chance it wasn't to be true, even if I knew it was impossible that it wasn't. Hearing her say it sent chills down my spine. She said it so indignantly and like she was proud of her actions, and then devolved into unhinged ranting. Last night, I officially lost my sister. I will be going no contact from here on out, but my heart is broken. My dad clearly didn't want to believe it was her either, because I heard his tone change instantly when I said she had admitted it. My dad sounded like he was on the verge of tears, and quite frankly, I don't blame him. She just caused a massive rift in our family. I didn't even get to bring up the accusations. I really would have loved to ask her where the hell she came up with the idea that we are starving our kids and have no food in the house. She has never left our house hungry, and our kids have never gone hungry. I would have loved an answer to that, but never got a word in once she was going off. I also would have loved to ask her about the drunken anger issues thing because it was clear and on display on the phone last night. She is the one drunk and angry, not my husband. Of course, I would have loved to make that keen observation, but again, I never got to speak once she was going. This is my final update. I have no idea how I feel today besides heartbroken and numb. I want to thank everyone who commented with words of support and advice. It meant a lot to me and really helped inform how I was going to handle this moving forward. I wish I had been wrong, but I wasn't. I'm worried because of her reaction on the phone last night she might retaliate. I have no idea if she will. I hope speaking to my dad maybe helped. I'm a little on edge today and sad, but just hoping to move forward from this in peace.